There is a person living inside your head who is not you, but who you defend with your life. You built him in pieces over many years, without realizing you were building anything at all. He started as a single small lie, one you told yourself when the truth would have hurt too much. Then another and another, each one stitched into the next. Now he runs your decisions, your relationships, your ambitions, your sleep, and he is so seamlessly integrated that you mistake his voice for your own. The most disorienting fact about being human is that the person you trust most, yourself, is the one you have lied to the longest. In the next few minutes, I will show you the 3 lies running underneath every other lie you tell. Each one began as a survival tool, hardened into a habit, then quietly became your identity. And the third one is the most dangerous, because by the time it forms, you no longer think you are lying. You think this is who you are. The first lie is the one you told yourself to survive, the lie that protects you. It started young, earlier than you can remember. Something happened that you could not process. A parent disappeared into their own pain. A teacher humiliated you. A friend turned cruel without warning. And the version of you that existed before that moment did not have the equipment to carry it. So you made a small adjustment, quietly, without ceremony, without anybody noticing. You decided that what hurt was actually fine, that the pain was reasonable, that it would pass, that you should not be making this much of it. You decided you did not need what you had needed, that the wanting was dramatic, that you were too sensitive, that it was time to grow up. You decided the person who failed you had a reason, or that you had earned it, or that it had not really happened. These were not conscious decisions, they were instinctive, the way a body decides to bleed less when it is cut. And every one of them did its job. They kept you walking, kept you eating, kept you returning to the same room. This is the protective lie. It is not weakness. It is a kind of intelligence, the intelligence of staying alive in a place where the truth was unaffordable. Children who survive impossible situations almost always do it through some version of this. They convince themselves the situation is normal, manageable, deserved, or meaningful. Because the alternative is to admit they are alone, in pain, and powerless, and that admission, at 6 years old, can break a person before life has even started. So the lie was not a lie at the time, it was load-bearing. It carried you across a chasm you could not cross any other way. And here is the part most people miss. The lie was not just about the situation, it was about you. Because to make the situation tolerable, you had to make yourself smaller, simpler, more agreeable, less hungry. You had to decide that what you wanted did not really matter, that being good was more important than being honest, that being needed was more important than being known. Imagine a girl who, at 8, decides she will never cry where her father can see her, and 20 years later, sitting in her therapist's office, she cannot summon a tear if her life depended on it. And by the time you became an adult, the protective lie was no longer a single decision. It was the architecture of your personality. You think you are someone who is calm under pressure, or someone who does not need much, or someone who can handle anything. Some of that is genuinely you, but some of it is the wall the child built, still standing long after the danger has passed. The sign you are still carrying a protective lie. There is a feeling you have spent your entire life pretending you do not have. Anger that never gets named, a grief that never gets cried, a loneliness you call independence, a fear you call ambition. And underneath it, untouched in 20 or 30 years, is the version of you who needed something nobody gave them and learned to stop asking. The second lie is the one that began as protection and became a prison. Because the wall you built to keep the pain out is the same wall that keeps everything else out too. And after enough years, you cannot tell which side of the wall is the real you. This is the lie that traps you, and it operates by a brutal logic. The version of you that survived the original wound is the version that cannot now have the life that wound made you want. The child who learned not to need anything grew up into the adult who cannot ask for anything. The teenager who learned to be the strong one became the partner who never lets anyone hold them. The kid who learned to be agreeable became the professional who cannot say no, even when saying no would save their life. Each of these was a survival strategy that worked, and now is the cage. Someone offers you love, and you find a reason it will not work. Someone offers you help, and you politely refuse it. Someone offers you the rest you have been begging for, and you find new work to do. Because the protective lie says, quietly, underneath everything, that wanting is dangerous, that needing is shameful, that softness is what got you hurt the first time. And the architecture of your survival cannot let you have the thing your survival cost you. The trap tightens because every time you act on the old lie, you confirm it. You refuse the help, you handle it alone, and afterward you tell yourself, see, I did not need them, I never needed them. This is why people in their 30s and 40s find themselves repeating their childhood, even though their lives look nothing like it. Picture a man whose wife says, I want to take care of you tonight, and watch his face flicker for a half second with a panic he cannot name. The danger she triggered finished 30 years ago. His body still does not know. And the cruelest version of this trap is when you start to mistake the wall for safety. You feel safe inside it because nothing new ever gets in. Not pain, but also not love, not surprise, not the version of life that actually fits you. And when you do glimpse, occasionally, the version of you that exists outside the wall, you do not recognize them, you distrust them, you call them naive, reckless, foolish. The sign you are caught in the trap. The things you want most are the things you most consistently sabotage, and the part running the show has not been told yet that the world has changed. The trap is not malice. It is loyalty to a version of you who needed the cage to survive and who never received the news that they could leave. The third lie is the one you have stopped recognizing as a lie at all. Because by now it has been with you so long, repeated so often, defended so reflexively, that it has finished becoming something else. It has become you. This is the most dangerous of the three and the hardest to see because you no longer experience it as a belief. You experience it as identity. The first lie said, what hurt was fine, what you needed was nothing. The second lie said, what you need is dangerous, what you want will hurt you. The third lie says, and this is who I am, this is who I have always been. I am the strong one, I am the one who does not need much, I am the one who handles things, I am the one nobody has to worry about. And by now, these are not statements you remember choosing, they are statements you find yourself inside every time you wake up. And the most disorienting part is that the people in your life will reinforce the third lie lovingly for the rest of your life, because the third lie is the version of you they fell in love with. They built their picture of you out of the survival self, and they need that picture to keep working because their relationship with you was built on top of it. So when you try to soften, they tell you that is not like you. When you try to ask for something, they look surprised. When you try to break a small piece of the architecture, they treat it as a betrayal. And you, exhausted, retreat back into the lie, because the lie is how you have always been loved. This is how the third lie holds, not by force, but by the warm, well-meaning collusion of everyone around you who learn to relate to your protective self instead of you. When you are in pain and you tell yourself, I am the one who handles things, so this is fine. When you are exhausted and you tell yourself, I am ambitious, so this is what ambition costs. When you are lonely and you tell yourself, I am independent, so this is the price of who I am. And so you keep going calmer, more capable, more ambitious, more fine, and inside the architecture, the actual you grows quieter and quieter and quieter. Until one day, often in your 30s or 40s, something cracks, a relationship ends, a parent dies, a body breaks down, and the silence underneath the architecture finally becomes audible. And you hear, for the first time in a long time, the voice of the person the lies were built to protect, small, tired, and still asking the question they asked at 6 years old. Was I allowed to need that? Was that allowed to hurt? The sign you are inside the third lie. There is a story about who you are that you have never once questioned, even when life keeps showing you evidence against it. Because the story is not just describing you anymore, it is doing your living for you. Here is what most people never realize about their own lives. They are not running from a problem, they are running from themselves, from a version of themselves that has been waiting, patient, and unbothered behind every lie. The first lie kept you alive. The second lie kept you familiar. The third lie kept you defended. None of them is the enemy. All of them, at the time they formed, were the most loving thing your mind could do for you. But you are not 6 years old anymore. The danger that built the wall is finished, and the person who needed the protection has earned, by now, the right to be told the truth. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself just one question, quietly, gently, as if you were asking it of someone you love. Which lie has been doing my living for me, and what would it cost to thank it and finally let it rest? The version of you under the lies has been waiting your entire life for that question, and the moment you ask it, something that has been holding its breath for 30 years quietly begins to exhale.